Well, thank you, Chris, for taking the time. Thank you, everyone, for being here for another episode of Mortgage Matters with Chris. This is our second episode of the year, which we're really excited about. Anyone who wants to watch this can watch, of course, live as we stream it on Facebook. And then afterwards, the recording will be up always on Facebook. Those who prefer to listen, find us on whatever podcast platform you use. We are everywhere, and we do ask that you subscribe to this so you can see the updates. And if you subscribe, it's going to be pushed out to more people. This good information. So, Chris, this week's topic that we're going to be talking about, we have heard very recently from several good sources that the real estate market is already and is expected to continue to pick up after the holidays, right?
Yes.
Everything slows down during the holidays because no one wants to be moving when their bellies are full of turkey and everything like that. And things are moving more quickly. So you and your team have come up with a program to help home buyers and their realtors be prepared for this uptick in the market. With an uptick in the market, there comes we've already heard about double bidding, things going a little bit quicker than they were, say, over the last 3, maybe 5 months. And we just want people to be prepared in a quick manner to jump in when they're ready. So with that, we are very excited to roll out the Platinum Pre-Approval Program exclusively for people, for clients of the Galli team. So, Chris, give us the overview of what this Platinum program, pre-approval program is.
Yes. Awesome, Mindy. Great introduction to the program. So let me just do a backstory here. So one of the things what we find in our business right now is probably 30% of our business has been laid off, out of the business because of the slowdown in, actually closings themselves. There was a big refi boom last year that we don't have, which was consisted of about at least 30% of the business, and plus a decline in business of 30%. So in some cases, people say a drop of 60% in business last year. So what does that mean in our industry, right? That means a lot of underwriters were let go, a lot of processors were let go. And now that we're coming into this new market this year in 2023, we're already seeing a little bit of a rate drop from the last quarter of 2022, which is meaning of an uptick in business. And what that means is now that a lot of people, not that we're understaffed, everybody's staffed for what's going on right now. But if that business starts to increase, right, what will happen is there will be some bottlenecks. So one of the things that we want to get ahead of, and there's other business industry leaders out there that are doing the same thing, I hope, as we are, is we want to get ahead of that. So when you apply for a mortgage, we want to instruct our clients, if you're a referral partner on here, or if you're a potential client, or someone looking to buy a house, this is very important because as the minute you start that application, we want to make sure that we have all the documentation that we need in order to get you a pre-approval. And in some cases, we'll even go as far as to get you fully underwritten with one of our certified credit approvals, which is as good as cash. That's my main goal for people, because once we move them through processing and into underwriting, I want that to come out very clean with very little conditions, meaning I don't have to ask our borrowers for a ton of different documentation because it's missing. For one, it creates strife with the consumer, with the borrower, right? I mean, nobody likes to be jumping through hoops consistently week after week. So what we're saying is, speed is of the essence. So when we first put a loan approval in, let's get as much documentation as we can on the front end. That way the approval's stronger, for one, and you don't have to keep going back and chasing documentation. So what we put in place with our Platinum Pre-Approval Program, Triple P, right, is we are saying, I'll give you $100 lender credit if you get me all the documentation that I request within the first 48 hours. And the benefit of that is, one, like most people, we want to close on time and hit our closing dates, right? Most people want to make sure that they close on the date that they're applying for. But what are the pitfalls if you don't? There's so many, right? You could lose your deposit if you have a large deposit on there, if we don't meet commitment dates. And just the angst of running around and getting more documentation in itself is a pain. So, typically when you apply for a loan, if you're just a vanilla borrower that's W-2'd, right? That I want to walk through this real quick so some of you listening can understand it's not a ton of documentation we need really on the front end. So let's just talk about a regular client, works at a job, has been there for 2 years or more, right? Lives in the same house, maybe renting. So in a case like that, really what we need is 2 years of tax returns and W-2s, all the pages, right? Some people will give the first page of the tax return, and then, in some cases people will forget to ask for it. And then a week later, you'll get a phone call, say, hey, I need all pages of the tax returns. And you're like, why didn't you get that last week? That's why we want to really encourage you to get that on the front end, all the pages, the last 2 years of W-2s, a month's worth of pay stubs. So if you get paid biweekly, it's 2 pay stubs. If you get paid weekly, it's 4, right? Be very crucial on getting all of this documentation together. If your money's coming out of a bank account for your down payment and closing costs, we need 2 months, 60 days worth of those bank statements, right? And in that, we want every page, front and back, even if you assume or your client assumes, right, that there's nothing on that back page, they probably don't need that. No, we need every page of that bank statement, right? So those are the main things that you're going to need. Now, here's some alternatives. If someone's getting Social Security, I'll need an award letter. Or if you were divorced, I'll need a divorce decree, just outlining if there's alimony or child support, receiving it or paying it. Because in some cases, you may be on one side of it where you're paying child support and I get a pay stub that has a garnishment on it. I'm going to want to see that award letter just to make sure that we're accounting for what you're supposed to be, the liability that you're out paying. And what this does on the front end, guys, if we do a really good job on the first 48 hours, in most cases, we can have your file fully underwritten even before you have a house based on the amount that you're looking to get pre-approved for. In that case, things are really easy because you've already been underwritten. Now all we're waiting for is for somebody, your client to go out and find that property and make sure that the title is good and there's a clean appraisal. That goes for, right? That's an underwriter's dream. Nothing gets bottlenecked. We will never be in a situation where we're not going to hit a closing date. And in some cases, like that, we can close a loan in a couple weeks. But at the end of the day, it's just peace of mind for you as a borrower. Because I do believe going into this first quarter and second quarter, we're going to see an uptick in business. And it's going to be more important than ever to be very thorough on the documentation that you upload into the system, because we want a nice, smooth, as you do, a nice, smooth closing, and a nice, smooth process.
So, Chris, what you're telling us here is that if someone gets that platinum pre-approval, they get all their documents to us within the first 48 hours, we, of course, reward them with that lender credit. But the bigger picture here is it sets them up to be able to be approved for what we call a certified credit pre-approval. And I don't want to confuse people on different programs, but we've talked a lot about the certified credit pre-approval. So I think our audience is pretty clear on that. And to reiterate what you said, essentially a borrower is fully underwritten before they even go into the house, before they step into the house that they're thinking of purchasing. That is like pre-approval gold. And
Right.
as we're talking about the market picking up and demand being greater and possibly some more competition, that certified pre-approval is what's going to be the key to helping home buyers get in above all the other competition.
Right.
So, Chris, can you tell us what's that going to look like? So they get all their documents in, right? We get them a certified credit pre-approval. They find a house that they love. How is this going to distinguish and make their, I would say, home buying process smoother and more pleasant than the alternative? Give us an overview, kind of what that looks like down the line.
So there's a few things on that. So to kind of piggyback on. So if most of you guys who were maybe home shopping a year or two ago, you were combating against a lot of cash buyers. And in that, when you're trying to go up against a cash buyer, it's very hard for a seller to overlook the ease of process when you have someone that's just going to pay cash. You don't have to deal with any banks, deal with any approvals, or deal with something falling apart in the 11th hour. It's much more clean. It's a much more clean deal when you're dealing with a cash borrower. So what a certified credit approval does, same as cash, because even with a cash borrower, you're still going to be up against a clean title because you still have to record documentation and you still have that piece to deal with. And then you may, even if you're buying cash, you may want to have an appraisal just to see what the value of the home is, right? So you still have to work with those two pieces. With a certified credit approval, it means that the person submitting that pre-approval has already been fully underwritten, meaning they're fully approved by the bank for this loan amount. They don't need to come up with anything other than maybe some updated pay stubs, which as long as everything's the same, it's as good as cash. And we have to get that appraisal done in a clean title. So really, essentially, you're almost as good as a cash buyer. So if you're going up against somebody who may be putting a minimum amount down, maybe 3 to 5%, or doing a type of program that isn't as appealing, if you will, I'll leave it at that, as appealing it to a seller's eyes, you're going to possibly win that bid over that next buyer. Even in some cases, you might even have a lower bid, but ease that you're fully underwritten and it's a conditional commitment. You don't have to wait for a commitment for 2 weeks because it's already done. You know, that brings power, I guess, in your approval and in your status with that seller's agent and the seller. The seller's agent's going to say, listen, we have a very strong offer here, fully underwritten. It's as good as cash. So with that, it just gives you an edge as a buyer. And the only way to really do that is to be very thorough on the front end, which we should be anyways, right? Making sure that we get all of our documentation in line and in order and to the bank, to us, in a timely manner so we can get that into underwriting quickly. And in most cases, most people don't come to us getting pre-approved with a contract, right? In most cases, you're coming to the bank to get pre-approved so you can go shopping for that mortgage. So if you have that week lag time, right, in between going to look at houses, for example, you put your request in on a Monday, your application, we get all your documentation within 24 to 48 hours. Right now, 24-hour turn time in underwriting. Well, before you even go out on the weekend, you already have a conditional, commitment in hand to give to that realtor, your realtor, to hand to that buyer's agent. Listing agent. So that's pretty strong.
And one thing that's not talked about a lot, but it is very much a reality. When you're a home buyer and you're stepping into buying a home, there's like an anxiety, like a little mental question mark in the back of your head the whole process. And so we don't really talk about kind of the mental health side of this. Getting that solid pre-approval at the beginning just knocks out any room for that anxiousness we might have later. Like,
Correct.
did I miss something? Are they going to need something else? Like, what happens if it turns out I don't? Like, the numbers don't work. That's just eliminated.
Or jumping through the hoops over and over again, having to go to that dreaded file cabinet that you stuff stuff in 10 years ago and you don't know where it is, and you're going back in it to find something you could have went in, the week before and just did everything all at once. And it's and I think, to your point, Minnie, that peace of mind in the process is, you can confidently know that an underwriter has already reviewed your credit and reviewed your income. Those are the two main things that an underwriter is really looking at, right? Your credit and your income. And those two big pieces when it comes to a mortgage have already been signed off and cleared on, which then just leaves value of the home, the collateral, right? And then also the last piece, which is a clean title, making sure there's no liens or the chain of title isn't messed up. And once those two pieces have to be done anyways, even if you're coming to the table with cash, at least the title has to be done. So you've already eliminated the stress for yourself, right? So it's not a big deal if you're already cleared and then the appraisal doesn't come in right? You're not sweating that. You're just like, okay, this might not have been the right house for me, but at least I still can move on and go into the next house because I'm already approved for the money. Let's go. So again, I think the importance in this market coming up, folks, is have your clients get all of their documentation in as fast as possible. Speed is of the essence. Our process, people are touched with every 24 hours. They're getting emails. We're on top of them because we know if we do a good job for them on the front end of this, the first 48 hours, it's like TV shows, right? It's like that TV show when it comes to finding like people who are missing or, people that are killed or something. It's the most crucial point, right? Is the first 48 hours, even got shows on it. Same thing for mortgages. So that first 48 hours, making sure that we do all our jobs, all of my team is all hands on deck the first 48 hours to make sure we have every piece of documentation so we can deliver the success rate of bringing that home for you, just like bringing that kid home or finding that person who did it out. If you miss the steps in those first 48 hours, it could drag on for a very long time and it can turn into a nightmare. So our promise to you, whether it's us that you deal with, just make sure that you get all your documentation that's requested from you as fast as possible so you can have a seamless closing, as seamless as it can be. It's still going to be some stress. Let's not sugarcoat this. It is a stressful, you're buying the biggest purchase of your lifetime is usually your home. So there's a lot that goes into that. So there's a lot of other stresses that go into, okay, my kid's going to like the school and all that stuff. So, but let's eliminate what we can. What we can eliminate is what we're in control of. And what we're in control of is getting our documentation in time to the lender so they can underwrite it.
Yeah.
And I think that's my big takeaway for today.
Well, thank you for being forward thinking on this. Instead of being reactionary and waiting for the market to heat up, you're really thinking ahead of time, prepping your team, making sure they're all ready to go, getting tools for your realtor and referral partners so that they're ready to go. And of course, all of this benefits the client. So again, this is a proprietary program for the Galli team exclusively. So with that, we're out of time. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Don't forget to go on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to Mortgage Matters. And we will not see you next week because the Galli team is going to be away at a conference. We're going to be learning some more tools and tactics on how to even better help our clients. But we will be here the week following that. As always, if you have a topic you'd like to discuss, send them our way, and we're always happy to add it to the docket. So, Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mindy.
I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the week and a great weekend.
Call me, message me if you need me. I'm here. Request.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye now.